This is my intro. There are many others like it, but this one is mine. Hi, and welcome back to Boilerplate Socialism. My name is Dan. I'm happy you took the time to come with me on this journey. If you saw the first episode, clicked or liked or subscribed, I want to thank you for that. I greatly appreciate that. Now, without further ado, let's begin. So yesterday's episode, we talked about what is communism. Today, we're going to talk about what is capitalism. Well, capitalism is a lot like the Matrix. It's all around you. It's everywhere. You're born into it. It is a prison for your mind. In more serious terms, capitalism is a system that, in the name, revolves around capital. Capital is money or assets that belong to a private individual. That's what capital is. Capitalism is a system where industry and trade are controlled by private individuals with the intent to run them for profit. That's what that is. Capitalism stands apart from the earlier economic system, feudalism. Feudalism was a system about land. Noble lords would fight for control of land and farmland. Things began to change with capitalism when more advanced forms of, we'll say, wealth came about to be. Whereas a feudal lord would take all his money and throw it in a big box. A capitalist could invest their money in a bank, they could buy stocks and bonds, and eventually, as the Industrial Revolution kicked off, they could buy factories, machinery, and assets. Therein lies the difference. So that's what capitalism is. The important thing about this is that as kids, most of us grow up into this, especially if you're like me, a young millennial who was born after the fall of the Soviet Union. For much of my life, capitalism was all that I knew. I knew the Soviet Union from reading about 1984 and watching Rambo movies, but I didn't really grapple with the concept of what is the economy or what is our current economic system. When I was younger, we always just took it to be that it would be eternal, forever, and invisible, more or less. You know, it's the old joke. It's easier to imagine the end of the world than it is to imagine the end of capitalism. Going back to that, right now as it stands, capitalism looks like it might be contributing to the end of our world. The thing about capitalism is it's a system about private accumulation, not primitive accumulation where you just shove gold coins into a box. It's a system about growth, and it's a system perpetuated around eternal growth, and that's the problem with it. As it stands, the Earth and the universe only have a, as far as we know, finite amount of matter. But the system of capitalism with stocks and bonds and investors who want an increase on profits every single quarter just can't sustain that. As it stands, capitalism is incompatible with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because capitalism does only care about one thing, the accumulation of profits. I know much of this seems very, very basic, and you've seen it. I mean, honestly, if you want a pretty good fictional capitalist, you can look at Mr. Burns from The Simpsons as a prime example. He's a guy who conceivably has everything and still wants more, even though he has absolutely no way to use it. And he didn't get there because he was very talented or very brilliant. He got there because, well, in a rip-off scene of Orson Welles, he inherited a lot of money, and money begets money. That's how it is. That's how you get wealthy in capitalism. It's about having money to make more money. And that's the capitalist dream. Having money to make more money without having to make a product. And again, this is a complex, very complex subject. People have written entire books about capitalism. People can make their entire careers about it. People have made their careers about capitalism, whether you're for or against it. It's an incredibly complex subject. And when I sum it up as private individuals own assets and industry and wealth, that is a very gross simplification. Just because capitalism has existed for about 300 years, there is a tremendous amount of information and documented knowledge on it. Capitalism has changed a great deal, starting off with the burghers in the Holy Roman Empire, the first capitalists in London, in the Netherlands. Those were some of the places where the first stock markets emerged. And this is when trading began. Around this time, they began to take the small craftsmen and get them to be more specialized and work more closely together. This in turn accidentally propelled the Industrial Revolution, because the demand for more goods, more raw materials, more sales goods, more money ended up destroying the old guild system as it was under the Middle Ages. And again, this is a very complex subject, but I'm just trying to do this to spark your curiosity. If you can name something, you can ask questions about it. If you can ask questions about it, you can learn about it. And if you're like me, a Marxist-Leninist, you can try to move beyond it. Because I would like to move beyond capitalism. It's that old joke, what radicalized you? Getting a job. If you know what a job is like, capitalism is about exploiting the labor force for money, because they can already exploit the machinery, they can already exploit the buildings, but the people are that X factor where they're always trying to get more out of, getting blood from a stone. If you've ever worked from a job, you know this to be true. Like they say, the fact that we do need child labor laws just shows you how amoral and bankrupt the system that capitalism is. I apologize if this episode seems a little bit more off the cuff. My previous episode I wrote a script. This one I entirely more or less improvised. I hope it wasn't too rambly. Next time I probably will go back to writing a script. But I'm having fun with these videos. I'm learning a little bit about myself. I hope you learn. And I hope you come back with me for episode 3 to learn. So thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And thank you for everything. I couldn't do this without my wonderful viewers. This is my outro. There are many others like it, but this one is mine.